Well, we're getting reports from the east of Ukraine of fighting involving Ukrainian troops at an airfield in Kramatorsk. The area has been in control of pro-Russian separatists in recent days. Earlier, the acting president of Ukraine, Alexander Turchinov, announced the start of an anti-terrorist operation against those pro-Russian separatists. Well, I want to bring you more on this. As I mentioned, gunfire has been heard at this airfield, from which Gabriel Gatehouse sent us this report.
Just as we arrived here, we also heard a couple of shots, sounded like from Kalashnikov rifles, probably fired in the air, because I haven't seen any casualties being rushed away. But what happened here was that an angry crowd gathered outside the front of this airbase, and that was apparently precipitated by the arrival of a number of helicopters, and inside them armed men, troops, soldiers, who the locals said weren't from here. They weren't from this airbase. They said they'd come from Kiev.
I want to bring you more from the ground now, because we've had this report come in from my colleague Olga Ivshina, who's on the ground in the east of Ukraine.
We're in the local administration building in Mariupol. Thank you very much, southern of Ukraine. And I'm coming through the window from the roof. The roof is barricaded with tires. Protesters control this building for a few days already, and now they try to reinforce the defense of the building. Most of people we've seen here are unarmed, but at least one man here is armed with automatic gun. People claim that they were forced to siege this building because they want to hold a referendum, and there is no other guarantee of their safety and of their demands being fulfilled, as they say.
Well, the crisis in Ukraine has been escalating, and it's become unclear, to say the least, as to what is exactly going on. So let's take a look at some of the events over the past month.
The international community will continue to stand together to oppose any violations of Ukrainian sovereignty and territorial integrity. And continued Russian military intervention in Ukraine will only deepen Russia's diplomatic isolation.
Russia's aggression against Ukraine is the gravest threat to European security in a generation.
Well, I'm joined by Mark Urban from the BBC's Newsnight team. He's diplomatic editor there. Now, I want to get a bit more into the mindset of the Kremlin here, because unlike Crimea, the east of Ukraine is a minority Russian area, albeit over a third. I mean, what's going on in Putin's mind here? What does Russia want?
Well, it's funny, isn't it? Kremlinology is back in fashion, trying to read the intentions of the Russian leadership. I think it's pretty clear, if you look at the statements of the Russian government, that what they're trying to do is create leverage. Ukraine plans to have elections on the 25th of May. They are effectively saying to the government in Kiev, give us what we want or we will ruin those elections, and then you'll be stuck in limbo. You'll have no legitimate government to replace the interim one that's currently running things in Kiev.
Mark Urban, thank you for that update. Well, let's get more from the ground now. Daniel Sanford joins us from Donetsk. What is the latest there on the ground?
Well, it does look as if the Ukrainian forces are back in control of that airfield at Kramatorsk. There are two versions of what happened. One is that all the shots that were fired were actually fired into the air to warn off pro-Russian protesters who were trying to come forward while they were landing on that airfield. The other version that the Russian media are putting about is that some people have actually been killed. I think it'll take some time before we know the truth of that. It seems as if the Ukrainian forces first of all flew over the airfield with fighter jets, and then actually landed 4 helicopters on the airfield and in that way took back control.